MSNBC's Joy Reid is by Brown Chapel, and she joins us again. Quite a day there, Joy.
Yeah, indeed. And Reverend Al Sharpton, our colleague, is right now delivering a stem winder of a sermon talking about his own background in the movement and also really enjoining the crowd inside Brown Chapel AME to step forward and continue the movement. And of course, it was very young people. He talked about how young he was when this movement was taking place. And there were a lot of people who were teenagers, college students, but even some very young teenagers who participated in the march itself. And I have with me the youngest, I believe officially the youngest marcher over the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965. And if you could step into me, Sheyann Webb-Christburg. And first of all, how old were you when you participated in the march?
I was 8 years old when I joined that march, the Bloody Sunday March. I was a very disobedient child. I grew up in George Washington Carver Projects, which is right adjacent to the historic Brown's Chapel AME Church. And I would never forget the vivid moment that I had the opportunity as that 8-year-old child to meet Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who had a profound impact on my life. And Dr. King inspired me, he motivated me. He was that special person who made me feel special. And that is what really, I believe, created that motivation, that stimulation from me, from a child, to really stand for what I believed in. And it wasn't that I truly understood what was going on when I first became a part of, but it didn't take me long, because when you would have come out to these mass meetings in 1965, it wasn't ordinary for adults to participate and be a part of those turbulent times, and never with a child. But you just couldn't be in that church with those courageous people and not feel the spirit that was embedded in them to come together for African Americans to not only gain the right, but to become equal. And I knew what that meant.
Indeed, and you know, Melissa Harris-Perry and I yesterday, when we were walking, just talking to people, we met some women, sisters, who were teenagers. They were 14 and 15 years old, so older than you, when the march happened. And they talked about their parents being fearful of them being a part of the movement and really wanting to protect them from it and not have them confront. How did your parents react to the idea of you wanting and being motivated at such a young age? Were you conscious of what you were doing? And did your parents fear for you?
Surely my parents did not agree with me being a part of this movement at all, because that fear that was exuberated in them and many African Americans during that time was really a powerful tool, which really made them feel complacent in a sense that was the way perhaps that life was supposed to be before the movement would come, because it was the life in which they were living before this movement would come. And when I really understood that Dr. King and those courageous soldiers came here to change that, I was there listening to those speeches. My parents were at home because they were afraid to come out here and be a part of it, because they could lose their lives, they could lose their jobs. And that is when I made up in my mind, as that 8-year-old girl, that I was gonna stand for them in spite of their fear, and stand up for what I believed in, and that's what I did.
And what does it mean to you to be here 50 years later, standing on this spot at Brown Chapel AME?
I am filled with a lot of mixed emotions as we have come to commemorate the 50th anniversary. It has really encouraged me, particularly when I see thousands of young people who have come from across the country to share in this historical and this educational event, with hopes that they would take that energy, this education, with enthusiasm, and as they cross the bridge today, that they will go back to their homes with a great sense of determination, a great sense of courage to do something not only in their lives to make a difference, but also in the lives of others. Dr. King taught me that early. He said that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. You only need a heart full of grace with a soul that's generated by love. And I've learned at a young age that greatness is never achieved by being served. Greatness is always achieved by serving others.
Yeah, indeed. Sheyann Webb-Christburg, it's such an honor to meet you. The youngest marcher over the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Betty, back to you.